It's Wednesday. Thank you so much for letting us know. We do record these meetings, so if you don't want your picture or your face showing, you can make that adjustment. It's September 9th, 09/09/2020. Thank you for joining us again. I have a few announcements. There haven't been too many developments related to our current situation. So there'll be brief, I'm sorry, I'm organizing my notes. There'll be brief updates generally about the situation, and then I will go over parts of what we talked about yesterday at the CAC meeting. And if you were there, then you probably can just put a static picture and do other things while you listen, because a lot of it will be repeated, although we will look more closely at the big ideas from the budget committee in more detail. So it'll be slightly different, but a lot of it the same. Okay. Updates from the field. By now you know that there is an extension of the 2-week stay-at-home work from home order, and we're hoping that faculty whose classes include face-to-face components can delay again the face-to-face components since there's a stay-at-home work from home order. I know it's been very difficult, and I say always how much I appreciate everybody's ability to pivot multiple times. Probably we should all be wearing neck braces for the whiplash that's caused by changes in orders. So thank you for doing that. Again, for spring 2021, which is being constructed as we speak by the stalwart department chairs. The schedule should be online as much as possible, mimicking what we are doing in fall 2020, with adjustments that should be considered given the amount of adjustment that needs to be made in budgets. And you'll be talking with your deans more about that. There is tomorrow the first meeting of the strategic planning steering committee at the system level. The members of that committee include faculty senate chairs from all the campuses, the chancellors, and representatives from the student government for all the campuses. And it will be the first meeting at which Erica Lacroix, our vice president, and Mike Unebasami, our associate vice president for administrative services, and Tammy Oyadamari Chun, who is academic affairs associate vice president. They'll be talking more specifically about the context, the external environment in which we need to play, in which and for which we need to plan. So it will be more of a overview kind of a thing tomorrow afternoon. Also, the university has begun the AUW campaign for this year, and you know well that there are many more families in need this year than before, given the amount of unemployment, furloughs, drastic reductions in family income that have happened since last March. So we will be having a campaign. I haven't nominated our campus coordinators, so if there's somebody out there who really wants to be the campus coordinator for AUW, please do let me know. I'd be happy to consider any nominations, any self-nominations, in fact. Otherwise, I'm going to have to look over this Zoom meeting and pick out 2 people random. No, I wouldn't do that. But we are going to need some coordinators. There probably won't be a whole lot of on-campus activities. Absolutely, definitely no penny wars this year, I can assure you. And probably not any talent shows or Maybe silent auctions if we can do them online, but again, that requires a lot of effort on some very specialized folks. So we will see what we can do, but for sure, we will be asking for donations for the Aloha United Way. OSA will have a virtual talent showcase. Virtual talent shows. All right, do I see 2 volunteers for the AUW campaign right there? Angela and Roman, is that what that is? Oh, Angela's so quick. All right, just saying. Angela, I know you volunteered once before, so it's you have done your due diligence and your duty, thank you. But Roman, on the other hand, has never volunteered. We will talk more. 1 talent showcase is enough, yeah, but now that you've got it, figured it out, then we can apply it to the campus as a whole. Or we can turn your talent showcase into a fundraiser. How's that? Yeah, let's talk some more about that. I get it. I'm going to be talking to Romans. We won't give you more to do, Roman, but we'll turn yours in. When is yours going to be, your talent showcase?
September 25th.
Perfect. We'll figure out a way to make it, to monetize. It's easy to do. Okay, I will be talking to Roman. Somebody remind me to do that. Okay. That's it from the perspective of my, somebody's already noted, thanks Angela, from anything that I've become aware of. So are there any questions? Good news and a hard question for Louise. Which one should go first? Oh, hard question first, Dave. Then maybe I could just end the meeting if I can't answer it and you'll never know. Go ahead. From the state of our budget, it's looking more like retrenchment. How will this affect those of you, I know you mean us, applying for tenure and promotion? That is actually a really good question. So the whole process of contract renewal and tenure and promotion, especially tenure depends on being able to show a need, a continued need for that discipline. So right now, we have not talked about retrenchment from the faculty perspective. We have not talked about reduction in force for other personnel. Those conversations need to have been discussed with the unions prior, and the board needs to make that possible. So that's not on the table right now, but it is something that we do need to consider as we make decisions on contract renewals and make decisions on tenure and promotion. And I know that on other campuses, there have been denials of tenure based on workload, available and continued need. Yes. Again, there are lots of things in the news about furloughs, about salary cuts. Again, I know nothing for definite sure about any of that. All of it is conjecture, all of it is speculation. The governor has not said what he wants to do. Okay, so now Dave is giving us the good news. You have more IT majors than before. See? That is wonderful. IT is one of those areas. You've heard President Lassner talk about what we need to focus on for the state, and IT is one of those. Yes. So it's probably not a wise thing for us to be looking at that kind of a conversation for IT. If you're offering your programs online, consider that you have the state as your applicant pool. And we are well positioned to offer online programs statewide in many of our really vibrant programs. So thank you to all of you who've done top, all of you who continue to evolve and grow in your online offerings, things that we have been offering or the only campus to offer. Our paralegal program, for instance, we've been constrained. I understand that those constraints are lifted, at least for now. I don't know about forever. Susan J. will know more, but I know the ABA, the American Bar Association, has been very cautious and conservative about online offerings. And I'm pretty sure, Susan J., you could let us know all whether the lifting of constraints is forever, or is that just because of COVID? But I know that it's a program and we're the only ones who offer it in the state, and I'm pretty sure that there is a statewide demand for it.
Yes, just to cut in, since you mentioned my name, thanks, Louise. We are currently moving to an all online option so that students can take either our certificate or our AS degree all online, and we will apply to be recognized as a fully online program as soon as the next cohort is available. But for right now, yeah, it looks like it's a go start. Well, it was going to start in fall 2021, but it looks like it's starting in fall 20.
All right, good. That's really good news. You know, for the unique programs that we have on our campus, being able to tap into students across the state in programs that are needed in particular, that's just great. I'm so happy to hear that. Finally, ABA. Yoo-hoo. Okay, other questions about anything that's been shared so far before I launch into my slides, if only I could find them?
Louise, I have a question.
Jan?
This is Jan, yeah, hi. Now that we're in the third week of classes and more techniques may be coming to light, is there at all the possibility of being able to get some possibly additional equipment, like a bigger monitor or something like that?
I think if you have technology needs to support your COVID related instruction changes, you certainly can be looking at that. We have CARES 2 funding, and because of what we've done with CARES 1 in the recent fall, we have been able to release more funding. So please do connect with Carl Naito and the KELP folks to find out about your needs.
Bless you. Thanks.
Okay. Other questions? We need early decision from CVIS about international student requirements. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at participants because I'm trying desperately to find my PowerPoint presentation. Anybody from HIC can help Calvin? What do we know about spring 2021?
I'm here. This is Sean. I'm not
Hi,
sure
Sean.
Eugene is on right now. Let me see. But Eugene is following up to see if there's going to be any changes with that. There's a whole bunch of possibilities right now, including the change of administration or not, which could drastically impact what's happening. So there's no guidelines right now, and we are trying to admit students for spring with a couple of different possibilities. But as far as the regulations are concerned, we're still in the dark. But when we know something, we will be sure to share that.
Thanks. So much of everything we're doing is, I don't know just now. I don't know what's going to be further down the road. It's just so difficult. As I've said before, human beings don't do well in ambiguity, and we're living in ambiguity on a daily basis. It's just really very difficult.
Louise?
Yes. Hi, Laurie.
Hi. Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So with spring planning,
yeah,
it's recommended that we continue to go all online similar to the fall, or can we, if there are those classes, and I know again it's similar to the international students, we just don't know what the future holds. There's certain classes that we would normally have face-to-face. Is it best to just go all online and then backtrack using our fall 2020 codes of sync and async, and the same way we went with all the multiple hybrid formats?
I would say yes. At this point, Laurie,
Okay,
only those classes that must have hands-on portions, like
okay,
labs, like some of the culinary kitchen classes, like
okay.
some of the health programs. Only those where hands-on is required should be scheduling face-to-face.
Okay, so we'll be pretty much going all online in the spring.
Yeah,
And should things get better, say if it's a sync hybrid, we could possibly consider later in the spring. But at this point, that's really good clarification. So thank you, Louise.
okay. All right. Anything else? Any questions for
Yeah,
yeah, hi Dave.
that was me. Sorry. I'm gonna have to ask this now because I asked a tough question, and you did confirm one of my fears that budget might be a consideration in denial of tenure, which I totally understand.
No, not
Based
so
on
much.
that though,
Wait, Dave, wait.
okay.
Not budget so much as demand.
Well, does the specific program come into it or just overall across the UHCC system demand?
Right now, tenure is the locus of tenure is at the institution, not at the system.
Got it. Okay. No, my question was going to be based on that. Should I just put this off a year? But it sounds like it's not going to really make a difference, right?
I have no idea to predict what the future is going to be, but I think if you want to make, that's got to be your decision. I mean, any faculty member can elect to delay application for tenure, and the COVID situation has allowed people to defer contract renewals and tenure applications. So that is your decision to make as a faculty member. And the locus of tenure is at the institution, and tenure is based on continuing need for the faculty member in the program on the campus.
Oh, okay. I was hoping you could look in your crystal ball and tell me exactly what's going to happen in a year.
You know,
I understand.
I wish I could, Dave. I wish I could. This is very difficult right now to plan going forward when we don't know what's there at the other end of the plan. So I think you have to look and look at, as a faculty member, you make that call. But looking at history of your discipline, history of the classes that have been offered, fill rates, all of that other kind of stuff. What is it that the state needs? What kind of program are you in? All of those things are going to be coming into play. We,
Okay,
I think as a university, I don't believe that we have ever gone through a retrenchment. That's my understanding of the history of this university.
Oh, the whole system, huh? That's great.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, I can't speak for what's happening going forward. Cheryl wants to know about a C19 code. Maria, do you know anything about what are we doing about C19 for spring?
I'm looking at Terry's response. We only use C19 if the course was planned to be, let us say, face-to-face, and now it's changed to online. So if we already are we're starting as online from the very beginning, then we don't have to put the C19. But I do not know how to satisfy the needs of the VA.
Right.
Because the current exception is only until December.
Right. It's the same for the international students till December. Terry, Terry, do you have any sense of what the VA timeline might be for spring?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it's like that.
I mean, it was approved through Congress. So I know we've heard that they're working on it, but we don't have a sense of what it looks like right now. I'm sorry.
Louise?
Yes, Cheryl?
No, I mean, I was just asking in advance because it's hard to go backwards later on and say, well, if you would have offered it, but you know what I mean? I know we're already starting online, but maybe these are courses that would have otherwise been offered face to face. And if those approvals are approved in the future, like they have been, but it's, you know, we don't always know from the beginning, it might be hard to go backwards and say, well, which ones would have been face to face or,
You can kind of tell that from the spring 2020 schedule, right?
right. So as we're planning a course that would have been face to face from last spring and is now going online, maybe those could have a C19 code. I'm just thinking ahead of time because departments are, you know, already going through their planning process.
Right. So are you suggesting, Cheryl, that we put everything out there online? I mean, face to face, and then change it the next day to C19?
No,
No.
I'm saying, should we put the C19 codes on the online classes that would have otherwise been offered face to face in previous semesters?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. I don't see, was that going to break the system, Maria?
No, it's gonna be okay, except
Okay.
that we're not using it for the right reasons. You know, like, because I know that we came up with the C19 code just because of the change that we did in spring where it was face to face and then suddenly we changed it all to online. So that was a code that the VA was looking at in order for them to get this residency requirement filled. But it makes sense to do it this way now. Terry, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know. It makes sense to me that we would identify those courses with the C19 codes.
Okay.
If they would otherwise have been taught face to face, but were converted to online due to COVID, then
Mhm.
I would say stay with the C19 code. But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I have
that's,
a question, Louise.
yeah.
This is Dave again.
Mhm.
That's a very good point. If we make the courses that would have been face-to-face have the C19 code, but then we're prepared to change them to face-to-face should the situation change, correct?
No.
Wouldn't that be easy for students to identify a possible face-to-face course change by using the C19 code?
I think we would have to be very cautious about making a switch back to face. It would impact the students who were doing it online from somewhere else and maybe can't come face to face. So I'm not sure about that. What?
Yeah, it's a
That's
big
a good point.
workload for the registrar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to say it was easy on a workload basis, Maria. Sorry about that. My bad.
Yeah.
No, but I think yeah, we can do that. We can put the courses that were meant to be offered as face to face with the C19. I think we can do that in order to satisfy the needs for the VA.
To
Until-
Louise's point, the students who are taking these courses that are labeled C19 as an online course from another location, Louise, they would be made aware that, I mean, we'd have to tell them that this course could be changed to face-to-face, right? We'd have to put that in star or banner and tell them that we could have to make this change. Wouldn't that identify the course to them to make them aware that maybe they shouldn't take that course online because it could be changed to face-to-face and they wouldn't be able to do it?
That's
Am I
really
making
going to
sense?
negatively impact your enrollment.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so I think there's got to be a little bit more thinking about what are the implications of doing one or two or three of those things. So if I could ask Maria and the department chairs to have a conversation about what plans might we have? Okay, the best thinking of everybody that I'm aware of is let's make sure we schedule spring to look more like fall. Okay, everybody, because we have no idea how long this is going to go on. If nothing opens up and we're still in this situation, then face to face is not going to be a really good option. but maybe it will be fine. And maybe the spring semester can be face-to-face. So what's the best way to plan, code the classes, and announce the classes so that students are aware? I mean, we have international students to think about. If everything goes online, we probably won't get international students. And what is that going to mean for us too? So if I could ask you guys to have a little bit more conversation about the implications of doing one thing or another thing, one code or another code. See, Terry's already bringing up some other things, and so is Mickey. So let's spend a little bit more time talking about this before we go live in mid-October. Is it October 15th, the go live date schedule?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's make sure we have some sense. I mean, it's good for the department chairs to know which classes would have been face-to-face. You can look at your spring 20 schedule and see that and have a sense of it. But how best to code them, how best to talk about them, and what message we send to everybody. I think you guys need to think a little bit more about that. There are many implications for many different populations.
Yeah, and Louise, I don't know if Noel is on the line, or maybe Jerry might know the answer, but it would be interesting to know exactly how many students we were able to keep because they didn't have their health clearance, but they were in online courses.
And
Because
why do you think
otherwise,
that?
if they were in a face-to-face course, they would have been withdrawn from the class. But because it was moved to an online class or they were in an online course, we didn't disenroll them because they were in an online course. So I think what the faculty did in terms of offering classes online was, I think part of it, they may have saved enrollment because we didn't disenroll those students because they were online. Oh, but there's Noel. Budush, he appears. Oh, Jeannie.
The answer to that was 800. No, just kidding, not 800. Jerry, you can correct me if I'm wrong. The number was probably working around, and Jerry really did the work, but I'm gonna guess it's between 200 to 300 students that was not withdrawn because of all the switches that was happening. I mean, because at first, when we were first looking at it, I think we had a number of 500, but that was all health records. And then eventually when we did disenroll students, it was closer down to maybe 60 or 80. So trying to account for, and again, this is purely guessing, trying to account for the people who turned their health records. I'm going to assume there's about 200 or more students who are registered in online classes who had their health records that extended to November.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
And if we could find out how many of our international students are 100% online this semester, that would be another way to gauge some kind of demand. And I don't even know, because they're not going to go through HIC necessarily, so we may not know except through OFI to try to figure out how many students who are international are solely online. So let's think about that too.
I can ask for that data.
You can get that, Maria?
Okay, I can make a request.
Yes, thank you. And talk to the deans too and the department chairs about what other data might they need to help them plan their spring offerings. Check with them and see, so we could put in a request to OFI for everything we need at one time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maria, this is Sean.
Yes.
You know, if you run that data set, one of the processes that we do at HIC and Banner is to go into GOASEVS, GOASEVS, and we remove the F1 listing in there just for enrollment. So if you're running that data, they typically, to my understanding, they would typically extract data because we would have active students and F1 would be in that data field. So I'm not sure.
How are they going to find them?
Yeah, there might be a way that they can run the data, and Bob would know best on this and his team, but there might be a way that they can run the data using Goa Intel, GOAINTL, and maybe extract with this semester or something like that. They might be able to do it that way. And then home campus KCC or something like that. But if they try to use Goa CVS, the numbers will be vastly off because we remove that data field once we terminate the I-20, because it correlates with our I-20 data tracking.
Thanks for that. That's really good information.
That's good. Okay.
Okay. Final questions, final concerns before I launch into some of the budget stuff that I did talk about yesterday at CAC that you don't need to listen to again if you don't want to. Okay, then let me try share my screen. And I find it. Since I did this yesterday, now I know how to find the presentation mode. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so a little bit of where we are from a budget perspective. These are words that you have heard me say. Actually, dire is what you've heard me say, and unprecedented, everybody said. And that's where we are. All projections that you look at, any of the economists are saying that this is going to go on for at least 4 years. Some people project out 5 years, but the economic crisis is going to be long. Not, okay, we're going to just, hunker down for a year and we'll be good. There was an interview with President Lassner on HPR where he talked about something that I hadn't heard before, which made me, or helped me understand what this long-term thing is all about. Yes, of course, we know the tourists aren't coming, so the state isn't getting all of that revenue. And what the president said in his interview on HPR most recently was that the state is likely going to be borrowing money from the federal government. $250 million is a conservative estimate. Some $2 billion is a less conservative estimate on what the state will need to borrow and have to pay back. And so our economy is going to be impacted by the state's need to repay the federal loan as well. For the university, it means quite likely in this fiscal year, $100 million shortfall in our allocation from the state. What this means for the university in planning is that the budget has been discussed and presented to the board with a 16% reduction to the general fund allocation, which is the money we get from the state, and at least a 5% reduction in tuition and fees. When we take that 16% reduction to general funds and 5% reduction in tuition and fees and apply that to the college's budget, it looks to us like a reduction of $5 million, which means we would be working our operational budget with $5 million less. So there are two challenges that we have. We have an immediate challenge, which is for this fiscal year, $100 million shortfall for the university, $5 million shortfall for us, which would be across the board reductions. 16% out of general funds, 5% out of tuition and fees. And for fiscal year 22 and beyond, this is the big stuff. This is the big ideas. This is not just belt tightening. This is a new pair of pants. We're going to not be the same institution. We are not going to be the same university going forward in order to be viable, given these economic realities. And what does that mean? We asked that question of the CAC Budget Committee. And we asked the Budget Committee on the campus to be thinking about this, in part because These are the folks that have been talking budget for the last year and some more than that. And there is representation from all of the AGOs on the budget committee. So we needed to make sure that we were including governance organizations in this conversation, in this brainstorming. So there were two named representatives from each of the AGOs. Of course, students, we couldn't get students, so sorry. Shannon represented 2 students, but Shannon was there to represent the student perspective. And there are 3 folks on the budget committee who were nominated by me. So 2 department chairs and 1 staff member were part of this budget committee. And they took that challenge. They took the challenge of what are the big things that we can do as a university, not just a campus, but as a university. So they came up with a bunch of ideas, and this is the first challenge. This is, what do we do now to make sure we can make the adjustments that are required of us? So some of it is stuff that we've already done because we've faced the situation as a college before. So cutting more the casual hires more, making sure we don't have any more unbudgeted positions, making reductions in student employees. We can do that this year. We already cut all of the TEs that are not required by the UHCCP 9.237 and those that are not required other than those for accreditation standard, for meeting those accreditation standards. So there will be no new TEs. There's a hiring freeze right now, all positions, all funds, except for grants. Any exemptions to that freeze for new positions must be approved by President Lassner. Any exemptions to renewed positions that are casual hires or unbudgeted, we don't have. Any of those need to be approved by the Vice President. For some programs, they are now facing a 40% reduction in full-time positions because the vacancies were swept, all of them, for the campus. And any recruitment has to be approved by the President because there is a freeze. There is a freeze on travel with any funds except grant funds. Again, this also includes inter-island travel, so it's very much constrained. We are being asked to defer equipment purchases, and any contracts over $25,000 need to be approved by the President. Anything that needs to be approved by the President has to also be approved by the Vice President. We have to follow that communication chain. So it has to be approved not just by the campus, but by the Vice President and then the President. So this is very highly constrained. And again, because of the 16% and 5%, we are going to be looking at across the board reductions. So that's just this fiscal year. The second challenge is, what do we do about the big stuff? What do we do about FY22 going forward? There are conversations that are going on, that will be going on, about consolidating, centralizing, moving and eliminating programs and services. These are big ideas that our budget committee proposed. Proposed reorganizing units for efficiencies, looking at our buildings across, this is a university thing, remember, looking at the buildings that the university has, can we repurpose them? Are there land holdings that the university can be selling to create revenue? Are there positions that can be redescribed and repurposed? These are all ideas that our campus came up with, our campus budget committee. Looking at some 11-month positions, can we change some of those to 9 months? Can we instead create 10-month positions? And again, anything that would be creating a 10-month position would have to be a union conversation because those positions do not exist. Right now we have 11 months and 9 months. Nothing in between, but maybe there's a need for an in-between position. Just big ideas. And what we did as a campus, you may recall, in August at the spring convocation, we asked the departments, the programs, the units, and anybody else who wanted to think about these things. We asked you for 5 questions. Some questions asked about what is it that the state's going to need? What kind of students are we going to get in the next 3 to 5 years? What is it that the programs are going to need in order to align with the state's emerging needs? What is it that the programs might do in order to consider changes for their program areas in line with the state's needs, in line with the kinds of students we're going to get? And we've done a very preliminary, and this is thanks to the continuous improvement group who took a look at those 5 questions and your responses, and then looked at the big ideas that were generated by the campus budget committee, and looked at what is it that the campus can look at by itself, and what is it that the UH system or UHCC system needs to be looking at, because some of those things that involve consolidation and centralization cannot be done by us programmatically. Now, how am I going to do this? Because, okay, I got it. So let me share with you that very preliminary look at what you've already suggested your programs need to do, and what the budget committee suggested could be done at the campus level, so that we can start moving on big ideas for ourselves. So this is the document that aligns what your programs have already said with, I can make it bigger, with what was said. So here's the centralization and collaboration ideas. And again, this is not something that we can do by ourselves too much. But already some programs are thinking about increasing their collaboration with other institutions and industry partners. Others are looking to coordinate across the campus and the system for student support. And in the middle 2 columns, or the column in the middle and the one on the right, you can see what the budget committee was looking at for ideas. So looking at campus and system structures to cut down on duplication. To the far right, you'll see support going across all the campuses for like processes that might be centralized, like student documents, like possible counseling and admissions going collaborative, centralized, looking at transcript evaluations being centralized, looking at administrative services like HR, like fiscal, like procurement. Could those be centralized for efficiency so that not all 7 campuses are trying to do everything all on their own? Again, these are ideas that our campus budget committee generated. Looking at facilities. Could we be looking at new revenue generating programs? That's what the programs asked about. Budget committee said, look at that. Look at exploring how we could generate more funding. Because again, it's not all about reductions. It's not all about adjustments downwards. It's about how do we improve the equation. If we're going to get reduced support, how do we create our own revenue? So the budget committee had some things to think about there too. Same thing, we're thinking along the same lines on the campus and with the budget committee. What? I am the budget owner of this document. Isn't that, I've never seen that. Okay, what's going on? I hate this. You guys who are doing online classes and doing all this stuff, this is crazy. I feel your pain now. This is good for me. Okay, so this was the funding revenue. How do we create better revenue streams? Using grants, that question came up at CAC yesterday. Yes, we need to make sure that we are doing what we can to promote grants. And I know I just got a request for support for our shared services center, which is currently grant funded. So thank you for those of you who signed off on the document that says, please consider institutionalizing. Of course, we are considering institutionalizing, but understand the constraints right now, not so easy. Let's see. Commercialization and technology transfer. Can we monetize some of what we're doing? Can we leverage our RTRF and CCSF, that is funding from the revenue generating programs, as seed funding for more ideas? These are excellent ideas, things that we need to consider as we work through the big ideas. And so the big ideas part of this conversation is going to take place in the next 6 weeks or so, and I'll share a little bit more about why that might be. Personnel, questions generated looking at consolidating redundancies. The programs have suggested that we alleviate the scope creep, which I hope somebody will explain at some point in the future. But looking at ways to realign our resources, are there consolidations that we can effect on our campus? Are there people who can be shared across units? Let's see. Deliver services remotely, redescribe positions, reorganize units. This is all part of what we were going to be doing as Reimagine, so we're on that track already. There are things that we can look at on our campus, about 11-month faculty changing to 9, or pushing to create 10-month. Can we share faculty across disciplines? Can we share them across campuses? Dave's already talked about that as well. Let's see, how do we help people who are underperforming do better? And let's see. Looking to improve our processing through lean process mapping. Some of you guys have been through that kind of training, can help us. Are there retirement incentives? The president has talked about that. I've not seen any solid documentation that that is something. Again, retirement incentives need to be discussed with the unions, and I'm not sure how far those discussions have happened. Those of you who are more connected to the unions would probably know more about that. Looking at ways to promote campus programs collaboratively rather than competitively. These are clearly things that we're going to be needing to do as a UH community college system. Can we share resources in a more nimble way? Lots of speculation, a lot of possibilities in academic programming. Can we do interdisciplinary things? Are there courses that are offered in different programs now on our own campus that could be rethought and shared across to cut down on the expenditures across the programs? Are there ways that we can offer the programs in different ways to make them more attractive to the folks that are needing shorter term, more focused programs rather than 2 years, 60 credits? Are we able to do things, blending credit and non-credit? Do we need to have programs that have 72, 80 credits, 100, 90 credits? Can we really think some of those? Can we look to see how we can better channel students across the different campuses? Again, these are not things that we can do on our campus. Those are system things, but on the extreme left column, these are things that you have already suggested we could do on our campus. Coordinate, create articulation agreements, Outreach to employers. Some of you have already talked about that. Do we start conversations for more articulation? Do we start conversations about more articulation, especially between our campus and the 4 years? Taking advantage of the alignments where they do exist. All of these things, all of these big ideas were generated by our campus budget committee. All of these ideas were shared already with Vice President Lacroix and the other chancellors, because we had the conversation so early, because we had such a robust conversation 2 times right now with the budget committee. We were used as an example of how these conversations need to be happening on all the campuses across the system. And those conversations will continue. I'm not saying they're easy, they're clearly difficult. We are going to be a different campus, we are going to be a different system as we work through all of these big ideas on a system-wide basis. By December 2020, that is this December, President Lassner has to report to to the Board of Regents, a plan for the university with dollars. If we do this idea, it will save the university this amount of money, so that we are ready to start the conversations for implementation in January, so that come fall of 2021, when those budget constraints are even more severe, we will be ready with a university that can address those new economic realities. On our campus, we're going to be looking at strategic planning. We've already started talking about Reimagine. We are going to be looking at pillars, and what those pillars will be are those characteristics of this institution that are essential, that determine who we are, that define who we are. And those are the things that we're going to be using to look at what is it that we're going to need to do to move forward with some kind of imagination, with some kind of making sure that we retain our nature through the unknowns. And those characteristics that you see now are really what are going to sustain us. And that's what I promise to you, is to be an advocate for who we are as an institution, to be transparent, to be making sure that I share with you as much information as I can. As I said to the CAC, I want to make sure that the AGOs know that I'm offering you myself, my time to come to whatever AGO meetings, not just to meet with the chairs and the president of Student Congress, but to meet with the entire body as you need to know what's going on. I hope that we can do and have these courageous conversations. And if Sheldon's on the call, I apologize for using courageous conversations, which is what Kuile is trying to do. But we will, on this campus, be having courageous conversations. And kindness for all is really what we need to be mindful of. And I imagine that there are multiple questions that I have totally ignored because I can't see them. Okay, so Joanna's put the URL for the Big Ideas document. So if you want to look at it more carefully, use it as a point of departure. We will be considering more big ideas as we continue to meet and have conversations on the campus. So feel free to take those with you, endorse, expand, add to those, and channel those through your constituent groups, your department chairs, the Academic Affairs Council, the CAAC, all of those things. We will continue to gather the information and the ideas in the next 6 weeks or 4 weeks. However, the timeline looks like maybe mid-October for gathering campus contributions, and then there'll be system conversations to lead up to what the president needs to do, which will probably be sometime in November. So it's a whirlwind. I'm happy to meet with any group that would like me to come and share more. It's a big thing. It's a really big thing. Comments, thoughts, considerations?
Louisa, it's Candy.
Hi,
I
Candy.
do agree, and I thank you for saying that we really need to put these ideas out, and we need to go a bit broader and consult with things like our AGOs, departments, etc. I just wonder what that might look like, and maybe if there's some systematic way that we could, I don't know, like how we did in the past, maybe with Google Docs or something that we can all sort of brainstorm the ideas that were generated.
Sure. We can start from the budget committee's initial list and make that available, and people could add to it. That's certainly something we can do. And I'll talk with Joanne about how best to make that available to folks to submit. If you think that's something that's worthwhile, it's going to get a little chaotic, but I don't think chaos is too bad at this point.
Well, I could see that, and maybe we may need to do it in our, I don't know, but then we get all siloed and all that as well. And I know but I think that everybody has to be a part of this conversation because it impacts everyone.
Yeah, I mean, we can use some of these ideas, do a quick survey. How many people think this is important? What are the priorities? We could do that as well as open it up for more ideas. I'm not sure. I haven't really thought that so much. But if you think that would work, like, okay, here's a bunch of ideas. Who thinks this is a good idea? Is that something anybody would be interested in? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Well, anytime you put out ideas and give people an opportunity to give ideas, you always learn something.
Absolutely.
That's what I've learned as faculty senate chair.
Yeah, if you want a good idea, you need a lot of ideas. Let's see. Kara's got something. Consider it. Okay, maybe I'll talk to Kara about how we might do that. Oh, Susan J, what happened? Somebody dropped you? It wasn't me. Are you okay? Did we get a new answer about the new doc side chair? Oh, social science chair? Nobody asked that question.
Well, I did.
Not to me, you didn't.
Yes, I did. And then,
When?
but we won't argue amongst all the people. Yes, we met yesterday as a group, Susan J. We met yesterday as a group, and we're working it out.
Okay, all right. Are there other questions? Oh, look, see, some people are looking out for Navarre. Thanks, Darsh. Oh yeah, for the first time in all of my 30 plus years at this institution, not all of the years that I ever accrue vacation, but in the years when I have been accruing vacation, I have never got that message that says, if you don't take your vacation, you're going to lose it. And I got that message. It's just unbelievable. So we can use the vacation or donate it to the Central Leave Bank. Thank you, Darsh, for reminding us that that is an option.
Louise, this is Carol. Is there a deadline by which we need to submit a plan to the system? I was just on a meeting with the continuing ed folks, and one of them said they had to have something um, by Friday, but I think, you know, that was probably an internal deadline. Is there one for us?
I know that Erica wanted to get from the campuses some input on big ideas by Friday. We've already done that. We were first out of the gate, so we don't have to worry about a Friday deadline.
Okay.
Erica has not given us a deadline for final input, but given the timeline that the president has shared, October is when the campus contributions get funneled to our officer, and our officer is Erica. But I don't have a specific date. So if we can plan for early October-ish, that would be it. And again, you know, this is not our usual timeline. We don't do anything this fast.
No.
But we are constrained by what needs to happen. So the more we can get done between now and early October, the more we can contribute. And again, be ready for when Erica says, okay, that we have to stop taking in input right now. So I'll make sure that we find a way to open the gates for more ideas.
Maybe we should, you know, collect the ideas by Google or whatever, but, you know, in those categories that you just showed on that document where you had the budget committee and then, you know, the various categories where, you know, like academic and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
then it would be easier to, you won't have to be doing such a big sort at the end.
Yeah, I'm thinking something like that is probably reasonable. Yep. 2:03, you guys, for overtime. Other thoughts before we leave? Not related. Roman, not related. Staff council kickoff is tomorrow. Okay. That's a lot of information to read in a short time moment. You're giving us credit for being Evelyn Wood graduates. Speed reading. You never did Evelyn Wood speed reading courses? I never did either, but maybe that's too old. All right. Thank you, Roman, for letting us know about the staff council kickoff. Just read the bottom of the message. Okay. Final thoughts, anyone? Okay. Thank you always for all that you do for your students, for each other, your colleagues, and please be very careful of yourselves. Make sure you find some time for joy. And if you want to, please do unmute yourself. I won't kill this meeting. I'm keeping my hands, I'm sitting on my hands in case I touch something terrible and end the meeting for everybody. Unmute yourself and say goodbye to your colleagues. I miss you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Stay safe.
Bye.